Well, the Republican presidential candidates are battling hard with a little more than a week to go until crucial primaries in Michigan and Arizona. And it might be make or break time for Mitt Romney, the former Massachusetts governor, now in a must-win situation in his home state of Michigan. Take a look at this. According to the Real Clear Politics average of statewide polls in Michigan, Rick Santorum leads Mitt Romney by 6 points, followed by Ron Paul at 11.2%, Newt Gingrich trailing the field with 9.8%. Here now, roll call staff writer David Drucker. David, is it possible that Mitt Romney could actually lose the state where his father was governor?
Yeah, it's very possible. You've seen the polls. We've seen that Mitt Romney has a problem closing the deal even after some really big victories in key states. And Santorum's on a roll right now. I think it's going to sort of depend on what the campaign looks like between now and next week on Tuesday, what happens this week in the debate, and also Rick Santorum is enduring a lot more scrutiny now about his current and past writings and votes in Congress. There's plenty of stuff to mine there. It's just a matter of how voters react to it and whether it sinks in or not.
Yeah, if you look at the history of this race, Mitt Romney has generally been the front runner, and the challengers have come. Some have peaked above Romney's numbers, but they've always fallen back down. Is that a likely prospect for Santorum here?
Well, it's a possible prospect. I think it just depends on the scrutiny, how Rick Santorum responds. Clearly, he's connecting with conservative and very conservative GOP primary voters in states throughout the Midwest, and even in Arizona, we've seen an uptick in his polling. So he's got an appeal there. There's the other side of Rick Santorum, which sometimes can be a little bit perceived as harsh and derisive and scolding, if you will. He doesn't poll as well with women and seniors as Romney does. And so it sort of depends on the level of scrutiny that he's finally receiving and how that plays out and how he responds to it. But this is definitely a real race. Clearly, Romney has the money and the organizational advantage. Will that be enough? We're going to find out.
Well, and it could be said, too, that his campaign may have thought that they sort of had Michigan in the bank and they could spend their resources and their time elsewhere. If they go back to Michigan, you know, spend some time, spend some money there, he could pull this thing out.
Well, they may have thought that earlier on. I think there's a chance that the Romney campaign may have thought that after vanquishing Newt Gingrich, Rick Perry, and a couple of other candidates, that voters at some point would make a determination that Romney's the strongest and the best candidate and wouldn't keep turning to somebody else. But that clearly hasn't been the case. You know, for Romney, the challenge is using his background as somebody who grew up in Michigan and his father was governor there and well-liked, and mixing it with what he has to offer today. I mean, many voters don't remember his father as governor. They may not have been alive. They may not have lived there. This is something that's going to, you know, help him with seniors who are still in Michigan. But for everybody else, they may look at him as the former Massachusetts governor. In Massachusetts, Republicans still think pretty highly of him. We just saw a recent poll where he was leading the field of Republican primary candidates at 64%. But in Michigan, he's a guy who grew up there and made his life in Massachusetts. And so while losing Michigan would be a big blow because of the symbolism, Romney doesn't have some of the advantages as if he had been governor there and if he had currently been living there.
It's going to be a fascinating race to watch, and we'll be doing so here on America's Election Headquarters. David Drucker, thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Well,